Helen. Hi, hello, welcome to the Female Startup Club podcast.
Hi, Dune. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Amazing. Where are you today? Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Nice. What's the weather like there at the moment?
It's
Looks
so
sunny.
it's really sunny. It's so nice. We had a couple. I don't know if I would call it like monsoon, but it was really heavy rain the last couple of days, and now it's so bright and sunny, and yeah, it's so wonderful. How about yourself? Sorry, I didn't actually catch that.
Well, I'm usually based in London, but at the moment I'm actually in Monaco visiting my husband's family. And so also great weather. It's so beautiful. Very different to what London was like when we left about a month ago. It was really bleak still. I was like, where's summer? Anyway, finally got it here in Monaco.
Nice. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is. It is. I love it here. Okay, tell me, introduce me to who you are, introduce me to your brand. What's your business?
For sure. So I started my career in corporate consulting, and then I started my first business around almost 3 years ago. It's an innovation consultancy. And then since then, I've started my second business, which is Inoki Bathhouse. And Inoki Bathhouse is very different. So the first one is like a consulting company that I started. The second one is a direct to consumer wellness brand. It's basically creating a bathhouse in your own home. And it's something that I really fell in love with during my amazing time during COVID-19 in the pandemic. But yeah, it's a direct to consumer wellness brand.
So cool. I love it. And I want to give everyone a little bit of context about how I discovered your brand, and maybe they've discovered your brand too. I am part of this community called Trends, which you're also part of. And I saw a post from your partner about that you'd kind of like started this small business. It blew up overnight, essentially. And like, what do you do? What's next kind of thing. And so I started following him on LinkedIn to, just see what was going on and keep up with the updates. And then I reached out to you to invite you on the show because I wanted to learn all about what's going on with TikTok, what the strategy was, what the blueprint was, and how it's going. And that's led us here essentially. So I'm excited, and I'd love to kind of go back to, I think I read that you launched in February of this year. So I'd love to go back to kind of what was leading up to that, what was happening during COVID that was sparking the interest in starting this brand.
For sure. During COVID, I mean, anyone from Canada can tell you, we've been in the pandemic for the longest. Toronto has been in the pandemic. We actually just got out of the pandemic. Sorry, the lockdowns recently. Sorry, I meant we were in the lockdowns because due to the pandemic, and from the social isolation. And I used to be a digital nomad, so going from traveling and then going to being confined in your home, it was really difficult, and I experienced a lot of mental health challenges. I think at the peak of my mental health challenges, I was going through insomnia. I went through insomnia for over a month. And that's essentially me not being able to sleep for more than 1 to 2 hours a day. And I never understood how much of a toll that could take on a person, but it definitely took a huge toll on me. And I was going through quite a miserable time. And I think what I wanted to do for myself was just take baths, because I tried everything. I tried going to my doctor to get prescription pills to sleep, and that actually like wore off. And then I tried melatonin. I tried so many like sprays, like lavender, like all these different types of things. And I just went back to the basics of taking a bath because I have loved baths ever since my childhood, ever since I watched Spirited Away. And I saw baths as a way to really find balance within myself and really decompress away from technology, away from people, and just really be like, be calm and relaxed. And then I read a signal from Trends, and they mentioned that Hinoki trees was a rising scent coming out of Japan as well. The concept of forest bathing, which is essentially immersing yourself in a very beautiful environment, and you feel like you're almost like bathing in like spirituality because you're in this environment. I thought that was so wonderful, and I thought that was so incredible. So I think late February like 20th or something, I had the idea like in the middle of the night, and I spent the next 5 hours mocking up what it would look like for this business to look like. So I was researching because the first name that came up to my mind was Hinoki. I thought maybe Inoki would be a wonderful name to have as the business. And then I created a bunch of design mockups, and then I sent a poll through on Instagram with my friends and family. And a lot of people really love the idea of creating a bath company that was based on creating a spiritual space in your own home to relax and decompress. So then, after realizing that people would be interested in it, I quickly set up a website on Webflow to get more traction and then I set up a TikTok, and then I basically bought a bunch of things. And then my business kind of like snowballed from there.
It's just so amazing, and I actually like, when I was watching your videos, my mood was just like, "I could so go bath right now." Like, this looks so relaxing and so nice. Like, it is a really to watch your TikToks, it is a really soothing experience just from the way that you speak calmly, you're more softly spoken. It's like you can almost smell it, because you've got all these beautiful things that the smell is there, and, like, the ASMR stuff. Anyway, I just really got that mood and was like, "This is really cool." When you were having the baths during lockdown, were you already doing this kind of ritual stuff in the bath? Or were you just, as in, like, were you putting these things in for yourself and lighting the candles and doing that whole thing? Or did that come as the idea? Right.
That came after. So I already began doing this. I bought a bunch of rose petals. I bought jasmine tea. And one of my first formulations was just with jasmine tea. And I really loved the experience. I was born in Canada, but I was raised by my grandparents in China for a period of my life. And my grandpa loved tea. And I was constantly surrounded by tea during my upbringing. And I didn't realize how much nostalgia that would bring to me when I actually immersed myself. I was creating a tea bath for myself, but it kind of brought me back to my childhood, the days when my grandpa would brew tea, and it was a very freeing time. Um, and so yeah, I would put these like tea baths together, and then I would light my candles, and then I would also play very soothing music. And I realized this end to end experience is only something that people typically DIY. They wouldn't. There isn't a company that I personally know that curates this experience for you. So I thought that would be a really great idea for myself to do that for other people.
Got it. And I always love to ask in the beginning, like, how much money did you need to invest to get started? Like, what was the first capital that you put into this?
That's a really great question. So everything I put in naturally just because I wanted to buy things. So I would buy things. So I think I spent like $100 on buying just things for myself. Like I would buy like the tea. Tea is very very expensive. I don't think people understand how expensive tea is, and it like you order quantities, but it still doesn't get that much cheaper. So I spent around $100 just buying tea, and then I gave some to my friends to try. And then I think the next amount I spent was around $1,000. I got the Webflow up. Webflow is I don't know, like okay, like around like $30 a month or something. I got Webflow up. I bought more quantities of tea. I bought some I tested with more ingredients, so not just jasmine tea, but also chamomile and other types of ingredients. So I think like initially $100, and then I put $1,000 into buying more things. And then once I got traction, I think I my first like investment was $10,000. I basically just kept pouring more and more money into this, and we recuperated all of that back after we made some sales. So I put all of that into investing into tools that would allow us to run the business. So, like things that you would just generally need for a small business, as well as for the ingredients. So, for specifically for myself, I needed to invest in like $200 worth into these like tools that like airtight, like seal bags, for example. So those were different types of tools. Also had to like buy like shelving for like my home just because we had to stock so many things as inventory. So in total, I think I spent, and this is in Canadian dollars, by the way, I spent around $12,000 buying inventory and whatnot, and we've recuperated all of that since.
Wow, so cool. Love that for you.
Thanks, dude.
Let's talk about TikTok. Obviously, that's such a key part of this story. So, what happens? What's your actually before what happens? What was your mindset with the TikTok? Like, were you thinking, "Oh, like here's my big fancy strategy," or were you just kind of like, "Ah, I'll post something"? What was the pre TikTok starting?
I feel like such an old millennial. I see how like tech savvy Gen Z are, and I honestly am not that savvy at all. So I was honestly just like, oh, like how would TikTok work for me? In my experience, like I'm not an influencer, so I feel like very uncomfortable with. I don't know. I think like TikTok is like for a lot of people who are like I'm very introverted, so TikTok was kind of like a perfect platform for myself. I could just post something, and it had the potential of going to a lot of strangers. Whereas Instagram, like I'm posting things and it would only my friends and family would see it. Like you have to be very good at Instagram in order for you to grow your following. I'm not good at Instagram. So I thought I would try TikTok, and my fourth video got so much traction and I was like, oh, okay, TikTok is my platform. I'm gonna continue going down this route.
And like, just to give everyone some context, the video is you make a bath for your partner, and it's like going through the ritual of picking out all the things, like building this beautiful setup and relaxing music and all this kind of thing. And this video takes off. What did you then think? Like, what was the next steps? Like, were people being like, "Can I buy this?" Or was it already set up for for people to buy that? Or like, how did it work?
That's a great question. So by that time, I still had my website, my really like janky like Webflow website where I just like put things together that said like this is like my vision for the product, and I also had a wait list that I used Typeform to power. Um, I was shocked. I was screaming around my home with my partner, and I was telling him that I was going viral. I was on my phone for 9 hours straight. Like I didn't really move or eat, and I was just responding to people. So I spent 9 hours responding to people because like when TikTok hits, like it just like it incrementally just like exponentially grows. So I spent 9 hours doing that, and I think we got a wait list that day of around I think 2,000 people who were interested in purchasing our products. So yeah, that was crazy and wild for me. So we didn't have anything set up. They couldn't purchase it, but they had a wait list, and we like pursued basically the business after that.
Mhm, mhm. And so I think I read by the time you actually launched your videos, you had about 4,000 people on the wait list, and then you sold out in something crazy like 30 minutes.
Yeah. So after our second viral video, we had around 4,000 people on our waitlist in total, and then finally we were able to put up a Shopify together. I spent like like weeks doing that, and then it sold out within an hour. So we had around a 200 order pre-order, and I mean 200 isn't like that much, but it was honestly just so exciting for us because that was all that we could handle. And every pre-order since then has been sold out within a couple of hours. So now we've opened it up to the broader audience. We've hired people to support us, so it's not just myself, my partner, and our family. But yeah, it was really exciting to see the positive response.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that for you. I want to ask you, like, now that you've got the beauty of hindsight, and now that you've obviously kind of figured TikTok out and you know more about it, for new entrepreneurs entering the space who want to leverage TikTok, what are the critical to dos and what are the critical not to dos? Like, what's the magic? What's the recipe for success?
It's so interesting because I've heard so many people say, "Oh, it's a quantities game. You just have to put as many videos out there as possible, and then one will pick up and it will go viral." And I found that I like I've been I can't like personally I can't do that. I can't put like 3 videos out there a day. I can barely put 3 videos out there a week, and I just put a lot of effort into each and single every one of my videos, and I think I think like the video does really well when people respond like an emotional way to it. And when you put out videos that are sort of like low value, doesn't really do anything, doesn't really say anything, and kind of like evokes no emotional reaction, it I'm not sure. I'm not saying it would hurt your brand, but I just don't think videos like that do very well in like current TikTok. And I think TikTok has also changed their algorithm. They're ongoingly changing their algorithm. So even people who have millions of followers, it still follows the same similar like TikTok pattern. Like if the first couple of people they react to your video really well, it goes to like another community, and then it kind of like tests like in like portions like that. So my advice personally would be to put more intent into the videos, especially when you're starting out. Just having a strategy, creating some type of emotion, a story, like being really good at storytelling. So I think that would be my advice for sort of like doing well on TikTok.
Mm. It's still such a tough one though, because like it is still hard to replicate because I feel like you see some brands who you're like, yeah, but why haven't they blown up kind of thing when they're doing like great content or great like beautiful things, and then you see other brands who are like literally it's like one video and it's of absolutely nothing and it's got a million views and you're like, but how? Like I don't understand. Like it's like I can understand what the formula is. Like when I look at your brand, I'm like, this makes so much sense that it's a brand that thrives on TikTok because like there's just so many pieces that truly make sense. But then there are some brands that I see or some like creators that I'm like, but how? Like I don't get it. Do you know what I mean? Like some of it is just like mind boggling to me.
Mm. Yeah, I think, like, some videos, like, on TikTok, I'm just like, "Oh, this is, like how did this get, like, millions and millions of hits?" But I think it's that aspect of people it's so strange that people keep replaying it, and so that is, like, a key algorithm hit for TikTok. Like, if someone keeps replaying it, that means they're intrigued, they're curious, and it's content that, like, should, like, go to a broader audience. But yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I have found so like I had one TikTok video go it hit like around 500,000 people, and honestly, like that TikTok, like even that TikTok didn't really generate any sales for me. So like it like some viral videos, it doesn't necessarily equate to sales because you're not really hitting the right audience. So which is why I think that like putting more energy into your videos and just making it very intentional is really important because even if a video goes widespread, still doesn't necessarily mean people will buy from you. Um,
That's interesting. That's important to note as well for sure. What's happened since the launch? Like, so from February to now, kind of like how has it been going? What's the traction sort of been since then?
It's been really good. So we only have one product. So like I had a vision of having like multiple types of like bath teas, but I want to be very intentional around the formulation. So I've been very very slow about it. So we only have one product, and the traction has been really good. We have sold so like to date we have like since like February we've sold over $30,000 like worth of like inventory. So that's been really phenomenal. Of course, like none of this money is like going into my pocket. It's continuously being reinvested into the business. I don't see myself like paying myself like for a year, to be honest. But I think like that has been going really well. We've been growing organically. And I think at this point, I can't just like rely on TikTok anymore. I need to go with traditional methods of like building the brand and business through like traditional means. So I am thinking about that as well. But yeah, the original hit from TikTok, it really set my business up for success.
That's so cool. Something else I actually like about what you're doing on your TikTok, just to circle back to that for a second, is I like how you're using the negative comments, or not even negative, but like the questionable comments as an opportunity to educate your audience. And the one that comes to mind is someone was saying something about they'd get a UTI if they put this in the bath. And then you were responding with the video being like, "Well, hang on a second, like, that's not the case, and let's, like, talk this through and educate people," and it's such a good opportunity because I'm sure if she thought it or if he or whoever thought that, other people would think that kinda thing, and I think that was also a very cool strategy to be putting out there.
Yeah, I didn't get a lot of comments about the UTI. So first of all, like I mean, I wish people talked about like women's health like more. I am prone to UTIs, and it's been a terrible experience. And so it was really important that, of course, like I made products that wouldn't induce UTIs. And I mean, there's so many factors that go into getting a UTI. And honestly, like it's just sometimes you're just unlucky. Like I mean, that's like a lot of the cases, or at least what my doctors tell me. But I really I think it's really great when people ask questions, but I think like what really kind of like sucks a little bit is when people do it in a way that almost seems like they're so confident, like, oh yeah, this will for sure give me a UTI. And so they're creating like fear. And it's like, well, first of all, like I think it's good to ask questions, like maybe clarify, maybe raise your concerns. But when you do that, you're spreading rumors and you're I don't know, it's just very hurtful. So yeah, I thought that would be a really good opportunity to address some of that concern.
Yeah, I quite like it. I think it's quite good to be able to be like, I'm going to actually highlight this and put it out there and explain and educate and use this as the opportunity. I think it's really clever. So, what's next? Like, you're going to bring in the new formulations, you're going to start expanding the strategy. What's the plan? What's the future stuff you can shout about?
I think so yes, absolutely. We're focusing on introducing more formulas. I think only having one product is very limiting as a business. But beyond our formulas, I really want to innovate the bath industry. I want to bring different elements from different cultures. I think what is really I think the bath industry hasn't really changed in the last couple of years. I think a lot of phenomenal companies are releasing like bath bombs, like bath salts, bath syrups. I think that's incredible. I think it's like there's so many businesses who do that, like baths, like soaps, bath bars. I really want to focus on the experience. I want to curate experiences. I want to introduce how different cultures take baths and using different elements of aromatherapy to introduce this new experience and also just focusing on the digital aspect as well. So, like for my bath experience, I have a curated playlist like per bath experience. So you feel like you're immersed in this like unique experience, like specially made for you. And I want to continue doing that. And I want to build this bath on like a modern lens of classic traditions from not only Asia but from other countries as well. So exciting things to come. We are a very small team, so I am hiring my employee number one right now. So that's actually something that I'm like actively doing because I do think that we would need that level of support in order to really grow.
What's the role? Maybe someone listening in Canada can
Yeah.
apply.
Oh, this is actually such great timing. Yeah. So the role employee number one, I think just someone who loves building, who would want to build a company. I really admire people who have built companies in the past. It doesn't matter if it's successful or not. If you attempted to build something, I really deeply admire that and respect that because it takes a lot of courage to do that. So basically, it is building the company as employee number one, which I it's it's essentially like it's like a classic entrepreneurial role. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Many hats to be worn. And you're literally just doing everything with me to grow the company. So it's really hard to give a description because it's not just marketing, it's not just finance, it's not just operations, it's not just like product development. It's literally everything. But yeah, if someone
It's a
is passionate
hustler.
about the path,
It's someone who
yeah,
can
yes,
hustle and is appreciative of your 3 a.m. packing orders
yeah.
on the TikTok hustle style.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, some of those videos really I really enjoy the content that you're putting out there, especially I think it's like the little things as well, right? Like the videos that you are doing little drawings on people's packages and explaining that. So cool. I love that kind of stuff, especially in the beginning when you're just trying to build your audience and figure out who the brand is for. But going back to what you were saying about the vision for the brand and creating this modern brand that's rooted in tradition and heritage, you know, that just sounds so amazing to me. That speaks to me because I want that. Like people want that, especially after the pandemic when the world has just been so tough. And like we do need more self-care and you want to have these luxury moments without having to leave the house necessarily. And this is so that. I'm actually just so surprised that we don't do that in life already, you know? I've never done that kind of thing. It's amazing.
When I was in Korea, so I was backpacking in Korea and Japan by myself when I was a couple years ago, and I took baths more than ever, and I was so uncomfortable too. I went there and I was like naked, and I was like, oof, like all these women are so confident in their bodies. Well, really, like they don't sexualize like, well, I mean, sorry. So I mean, the women there, they were just like it's just like a part of their lifestyle. And I just realized that baths are even in places like Korea, it was really, really hot and people still love baths and you're just getting that like nice soak and it's almost like a ritual for a lot of people. So yeah, I honestly I feel like bringing that to the North America or just the global lens, I would love to bring this to like very cold places because I feel like cold places would really appreciate this. But yeah, I definitely want to bring this tradition to other countries respectfully.
I mean, bring it to the UK. The UK is
Yeah.
gloomy most of the year. I feel like the UK is just in constant winter mode and it doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's the middle of summer and it's like, it's 12 degrees. And you're like, what? But how? I cannot deal with this. Please run me a bath. Gosh, that's amazing. I'm so excited to watch what happens over the coming months slash years for you and what you're going to be building. It sounds really, really exciting. I want to ask you your advice for women who have a big idea and want to start their own business and are looking at brands like you who have blown up on TikTok, can see the power, what your advice is to them.
My biggest advice would be to just put something out there. I think a lot of people, so like I am very nervous about putting myself out there. Like I'm like it makes me like feel very uncomfortable. And I think but because I did it and I got traction, I was able to iterate really quickly. So not just being a perfectionist, but putting something out there and learning as you're going. Because like when you are a perfectionist, and it's a lot of the times so many like women can be, you get so overwhelmed with every little detail that you never ever really launch anything. And if you launch something, it's launched too late. So putting something out there, put a website up, get traction, find your product market fit, and just don't be discouraged. Well, find your community to encourage, continue like building like positive thoughts. I think for myself, I'm a very pessimistic person, so I needed a support network around me to sort of like lift me up in those moments. Oftentimes, I think like women can be pessimistic or not as confident. So I think having that support network and just constantly learning and putting something out there would be really important.
Amazing. Thank you so much. At the end of every episode, we ask a series of 6 quick questions. So I'm going to get started. Question number 1 is, what's your why? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Oh wow, that's such a beautiful question. When I was younger, I always thought I always wanted to do something that would drive impact in the world. And I didn't exactly know what that would be and what that would look like. And I think so there's a Japanese word called ikigai, and it's basically pairing what you love doing with what the world needs with what you're good at doing. And I think when I learned about that word, it kind of was magic to me because I feel like every step that I take, it's finding like my ikigai around what I love, what is necessary, and what I'm good at. So I think in a way that answers the question. I just want to drive impact, and I want to find something that I love doing, and be able to do that.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. That's a great word to have in your mind as an entrepreneur, for sure. Question number 2 is, what do you think has been the number 1 marketing moment that made the business pop?
I think it was definitely that video that you were mentioning earlier, where I made my partner a bath. I think that was just so wild to me that people loved it so much. But I think people really love acts of service. Sorry, love languages and those type of acts of service. I think that's very refreshing to see when couples are able to do that for each other. So yeah, and just like pampering your partner, like whoever they may be, I think that's just like it's just so nice.
Yeah, it resonates with you because you're like, "That is so nice." Like, I love that that person's doing that for that other person.
Yeah.
It's so sweet. I actually watched this video just before we got on the call, and, my best friend sent it to me on Instagram, and it's this guy and this wife and his wife, his partner, and they've been married for 14 years, and basically he's filming her, and he's hired out a cinema, and the basically what's happening is that when they got married, their video footage was lost, but 14 years later, someone found it, and he hires this cinema and plays it and records her, like, reaction to their wedding video, and I was like, "Oh god, this is amazing, like, this is crazy cute, like, what?" So I can see that, how it resonates with people to just be like, you feel the emotion for that other person, it's so
That's
nice.
so sweet.
It
Oh
was
my
so
god, that's
sweet.
so,
I
so
nearly
sweet,
cried.
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send it to
Oh.
you. Um, question number 3 is, where do you hang out to get smarter? What are you reading or listening to or subscribing to that other founders and entrepreneurs should know about?
Oh, I love this question. So I'm subscribed to a bunch of newsletters. I mean, so many that like a lot of people are aware of, like Morning Brew. I read The Peak, which is like Canadian version of Morning Brew. I go on TechCrunch a lot to just like check out like what are upcoming types of like companies that are sort of like blowing up. My partner is leading a venture fund, so we're constantly connecting with new founders who are building things to invest in. I mean, Trends has been a really great like resource for myself personally. And I think like the Hustle they have a podcast called like how I first made my first like million. I really like their Yeah, I really like their content. And I think just connecting with other founders in general allows like me personally just to keep up to date with what's happening. I think those are some top of mind for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm such a fan of trends when it comes to the community side of things, but I think they do content really well. But content that's like not necessarily relevant to you, but it opens your eyes to different things that you may not have ever thought about before, and it's just interesting to know. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I'll link all of those in the show notes. Some great ones there. Thank you. Question number 4 is, how do you win the day? What are your AM and PM rituals that keep you, and habits rather, that keep you feeling happy and successful and motivated and asleep?
Wow, that's such a good question. Um, I'm gonna be honest, my AM habits are not really healthy. I think I the first thing I do is check my emails just because I run a consulting company, so I feel very pressured to like get right to work as soon as I actually only eat like 1 to 2 times like a day, and I eat like at 5 p.m. even though I like wake up early. It's like terrible for my health. So I'm gonna be honest, my daily habits aren't that great. My night habits also aren't that great. The only because I'm just constantly overwhelmed with work, to be quite honest. I started journaling, so that's something that I've been doing, which is like writing like daily prompts of what have I been doing, what have I been thinking, feeling, what is a win that I accomplished. So I think that is like one healthy habit that I developed. On weekends, I take baths. So I don't do it regularly, but I do it on weekends. So like I bring all the stress of a 5 day work week, mostly 6 day work week, and then I like release it in my bath and I sort of like recharge from there. So I'm so sorry. I don't have a good answer for that one because I think I'm still struggling.
That's a great answer. What are you talking about? You're still struggling. I mean, to be honest, me too. I really struggle with the phone thing, and I go through phases where I'm pretty good. At the moment, I'm in a bad phase because we're traveling, so I've mixed up my routine a bit. But I look at my phone as the first thing that I do, and I really hate that when I'm in the bad habit. When I'm in a good habit, I am waking up and I meditate as the first thing that I do, to a guided meditation. It's the last thing I do before I go to bed. But when I lose my routine, it really shuffles me, and I'm in one of those, like, bad routines at the moment where I'm just looking at my phone too much. Even though I actually, a few weeks ago, I stopped scrolling on Instagram. I haven't scrolled since. I think it's been almost 4 weeks now. So I still post on my story, and I still post on my feed, and I still read my DMs. So I'm producing content, but I'm really not consuming. I don't scroll. I literally just haven't done it, and so I feel really happy about that.
That's amazing. Wow, that's really amazing. Do you use so I when I do yoga meditation, I use this it's called Open. Do you use Open? Or have you heard of it?
Nope.
It's a company based out of US, I believe, and it's like spelled really like interestingly. There's like a lot of like if you Google it, you'll see what I mean, but like different like space and gaps in it. But it's called Open, and they have live workshops for yoga meditation throughout the day, and I've really enjoyed that. I don't do it like on a ritualistic basis. I do it whenever I need it for myself. But that could be something that could be interesting to some folks.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Sounds awesome. Question number 5 is, if you were given $1,000 of no strings attached grant money, where would you spend it in the business?
I think my team is like my biggest asset. Like our team is like we took our team from Onova, which is my main company, and then we basically lent it to this my like sister company, Inoki Bathhouse. And I would honestly just like if I could, I would just bring on maybe like another person because I think like your team is just so important in helping you grow and develop. And I know my team is has been my biggest value add. And so I guess like to my team, I think that would be like my biggest like spend. Wait, sorry. I also want to note that whenever I do have like funding, so like every time we do earn money, I do put like a huge amount of that into testing new formulations, and that's been like a huge like R&D has been a huge part. So if like I don't need to hire anyone else, I would put that into just testing future formulations. And like yeah,
Yeah, and I feel like for you as well, you would just have such a customer base already that would be ready to jump on a new product that you release.
right.
It would be like a clear win.
Yeah.
Last question, question number 6 is, how do you deal with failure? What's your mindset and approach when things don't go to plan?
I used to deal with failure really poorly. I used to take it very personally, and I would think that my world around me was sort of like crumbling around me, and I would think, oh, I am incompetent. I'm not good enough. suck. Everything I'm creating is terrible. Having like the worst possible thoughts that you could imagine, but having that directed to yourself. I think I realized that I think like after going through like so many instances of of failure, you realize that uh literally everyone who has achieved anything has gone through failure. Like you can't achieve greatness or you can't achieve really anything without having gone through failure. Failure is the number one thing that allows you to grow and learn. And like yes, of course, like success, like oh, like success, like you learn so much from it, but failure, you grow as an individual, you grow as an entrepreneur, you grow as just a like a human being. So I now look at failure as a learning point. I don't take it personally anymore. I look at it as an opportunity, and I look at it as a story, like a fun story that I'll like tell my friends. When I like get out of that failure mode, and I was just like, oh my god, it was like so hilarious that I like lost that like huge deal with a client. But like it's okay because better things happened. So that's how I approach failure now.
Much healthier, much
Yeah,
better. The negative
much
the
healthier.
negative self-talk is a real kicker. It's not good. I hate it. I really hate it when I can, because it's hard, right, to like never go into those spirals and to never have negative self-talk. Sometimes it's just like eats away at you, but that's awesome. I'm glad that you've you've changed that and you've shifted gears. Helen, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Female Startup Club today. I'm so excited for you. This is just the beginning, and it just seems like it's just this really exciting journey that's in front of you and what you're creating for the world and people and in the self-care space. I'm really excited. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, dude.